Well, hello everyone. Once upon a time, well, there were no generics, there were no templates, there was no list T, there was no dictionary K, comma V. And once upon a time, you were not using AI, but that's a different story. Unless you were doing some dark magic with C macros, you would write your own data structure code, not because it was necessarily fun, but because, well, you had no choice. And then the 2000s arrived, and Java, C Sharp, C++, etc. would all get generics or templates included, and Delphi and Free Pascal were no different. And that sort of changed the way in which we would write software. After all, once you had written a queue a few times, well, you didn't want to write it a few more times. Today I want to talk about some of what we've lost and what we can still gain by understanding some of the fundamentals. And the best place to start perhaps is with a structure that would teach many generations of programmers about memory and relationships, and that would be a linked list. In data structure classes that I attended at university, I think the linked list would have been probably the very first one. You would have a node with a value, and then you would have then a pointer to another node in the sequence. The last node then would point to nothing. It's a simple and an elegant structure, and it also forces you to understand pointers, which is why it was such a good teaching tool. By the way, you would have to learn pointers before a linked list, but once you understood the basic chain, though, the rest of the classic structures would then start to make sense. Because after you knew how to do a write a linked list, you would then learn about other structures like trees, graphs, hash tables, queues, stacks, yada yada yada, and a whole lot more that I haven't named. Now, each structure, though, would have different strengths, different trade-offs. Some would be better for lookups, some would be great at insertion and deletion, some had order, some didn't. And choosing the right one or the right structure for the job is the beginning of thinking like a software engineer. Now, a real world case from my own history is that we would have one thread that would capture data and process it into a record for processing later on. We would then have a second thread which would then write that same record into a database after it had calculated a call charge and did other processing. Between these two threads would be a queue. Now that queue sort of like decouples the two threads, it preserves order. It would act as a buffer when the two threads would run at different speeds. After all, it's much faster to capture data than it was to write that record to a database. So going back to the linked list then, inserting an item into a sorted linked list means you would have to walk down that list until you found out where you had to insert that item, and then you would have to rewire the pointers so that the chain would remain intact. This exercise, trains you to break down the problem into steps and to understand constraints and also invariants. Now, while you are unlikely to be writing a linked list for a customer, you do actually ship, or you do actually show your thinking in what you deliver. Now, even if you only implement, let's say, one of these structures, they do teach you something that modern languages can sometimes hide, and that is, where does the data actually live? Now, today, you don't have to write that code yourself. You can, like I said, reach for generics very easily, or, probably the newest tool would be to ask your AI assistant. Say, why bother? I'll just type that command into my keyboard. I'll just ask AI to implement it. Well, you can, but if you say something as simply as, I need to manage a list of call records, then you might get a dynamic unsorted array when what you actually need might be a balanced tree. AI doesn't know your constraints unless you know your constraints and tell the AI. Generics make life easier once you understand the underlying ideas behind each structure, but they don't themselves teach you how to think. And this brings me to an older language that I'm going to say was designed deliberately not to hide thinking. Hello, Mr. Pascal, a language that was designed as a teaching language. It has explicit memory, explicit structure, flow control, and almost no hidden magic, because through Pascal you saw data, you saw the behavior, you can see the relationships. And there was also this classic text that came out in 1975 that explained, algorithms and data structures, and it was by, the creator of Pascal itself. The good news is, though, that you don't need to be a Pascal programmer or to implement every structure under the sun to get the same benefit. Perhaps you just need to build one structure to start to develop an understanding. Maybe it's a linked list, maybe it's a tree or a queue. To get an understanding of where the data lives, how it moves, how the relationships are maintained, how invariants are protected, and so on. That is the foundation. Because once that foundation is in place, a deeper question starts to appear in almost every design decision. And that question is, what data needs to be stored where? For example, linked lists, force you to think about where a node lives and how it connects to the next. A queue forces you to think about where items wait and in what order they will be leaving. A tree forces you to think about where values sit in relationship to one another so that your lookups remain, fast. These are the decisions that you make every time that you choose a data structure for your applications. Understand these decisions and you stop treating containers, like black boxes. You start choosing them with more intention. That same clarity then becomes, invaluable when you're also working with other people. Because when you come to the stage where people review your code, they're going to ask you a question like, why did you choose this particular structure? When you understand the trade-offs, you can answer that, be it for performance or memory, complexity or behavior. Your ability to justify decisions is a large part of being able to think like a software developer. It can also change, how you work with AI. Because now rather than just saying, make me a list, you can say, hey, I need to use a tree because I'm going to be doing lots of lookups. Or I need to use a queue because ... Or you can even just say, I just need a generic container. But the AI gives you better answers once you understand the problem that you're trying to solve. Now, if you think then that software doesn't really need data structures, well, you'll find it in lots of software that you would touch each day. Games will be using trees, grids, and other spatial structures, for terrain. Maps use graphs and shortest path algorithms. Social networks also use graphs for relationships. Database will have a B tree, so your data can appear instantly. Even if you never implement a linked list again, understanding why these structures exist can make you better at reasoning, explaining, and directing, the modern tools, including AI. So let's bring this all together. Yes, generics do make life a lot easier. Yes, do use your generics. AI, yes, it can make coding a lot faster. But it's the fundamentals that make you, let's say, think a little bit sharper or be able to choose the right tools for the job. You don't need to know every structure or data structure like the back of your hand. But knowing what structures do exist and where they're good or where they're not good can help you to choose the right one to use for the task at hand. So thank you for watching. If you've got any questions or disagree with what I'm saying, well, hit me up with a comment. I'd love to hear from you. But until next time, happy coding and I'll see you then. Bye.